Well, I got into recovery in 220 of '09, so it'll be 17 years later this month.
Crazy.
Pretty crazy.
All right.
Apparently, the story goes your grandfather, your great grandfather, my grandfather, left when my dad was 10, and he didn't see him for 15 years. Wow, this is going to be harder than I thought. Um, that's when my addiction completely took a hold of me.
Mhm. Okay. Today, I think is going to be a pretty cool episode because I am here interviewing my father, Ted St. John, CEO of Hopetown. And his story is pretty interesting, and I think it'll be pretty cool because as his daughter, I'll get to interview him. So, Dad, hi, how are we doing today?
I'm a little, I'm a little tentative on this one. We'll see how this one plays out.
So, what are you to Hopetown?
Founder and chief executive.
Fancy. Ooh. Wasn't always that way. Okay, so let's take it back to the beginning. How many years clean are you?
Well, I got into recovery in 220 of '09, so it'll be 17 years later this month.
Crazy.
Pretty crazy.
All right, so you were not always into this. Like, recovery was not what you wanted to get into. It was very different than what your life path was
Mm.
kind of going in your younger years and stuff. So let's go back to the younger years. What was that like for you? Let's talk a little bit.
Okay. Well, the building we're in is the East Elementary School,
Hmm.
right? We have, the training center and this podcast inside this building. I went through fourth through sixth grade
Hmm.
in this building and in this town. And so I guess the best way to describe it is, I think of like where addiction generally starts to
Hmm.
disorder. For me, I didn't have any language for this, but I had some traumatic events happen coming up. Um, Definitely, life wasn't easy for me, and I had some abandonment issues going on with my dad. And apparently, the story goes, your grandfather, your great grandfather, my grandfather, left when my dad was 10,
Hmm.
and he didn't see him for 15 years.
Went to go get milk.
He went literally said, "I'm going to get milk," and he didn't hear from him for 15 years. Um, Oddly enough, my dad left when I was about 10.
Hmm.
We were kind of relieved growing up with an active alcoholic in the house. My dad's pretty serious, he's pretty intense. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He was not um, affectionate, he
Hmm.
wasn't engaged, he wasn't lighthearted, he was pretty critical and serious. So I was always nervous. That said, based upon the lifestyle that was presented me, in our culture, I was seeking out alcohol, opportunities to drink
Hmm.
when I was 11, 12. Unsupervised, we were looking for those
Yeah.
opportunities. And so they happened, and the consequences, that were obvious,
Hmm.
for somebody that age drinking, you end up with consequences pretty directly. But what I remember was that I wanted to do it again. And that was always the case for me.
Yeah.
No matter what it was, no matter what the consequence was, no matter what the substance was, I wanted to do it again.
Hmm.
There wasn't any time that I didn't want to do it. Period.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of how could I balance it. So, coming up, that was me. I was kind of like I was looking to get messed up. I
Hmm.
was looking to be altered all the time. And so I started using when I was 12, and I always used something.
Successful while you were using, though. It's not like you were some burnout that wasn't doing well for himself while you were actively
Yeah,
seeking out anything you could to alter your mind.
yeah.
You went into the military after school and you
Hmm.
did very well with that.
Hmm.
So, talk about that a little
Yeah,
bit.
so it is funny though, because I was a work hard, play hard kind of guy,
Hmm.
is kind of how I identified. I definitely had some skill in covering it up. I definitely had a phony image. I definitely had a double life. I always had secrets.
Hmm.
I was always doing something that most people didn't know, and I was generally wanting to hang around with burnouts because they didn't judge me for that, and I could be myself. I didn't have to have secrets.
Hmm.
But I also had ambition,
Yeah.
right? And so it led me into other spaces where I would be judged, or I felt I would, so I had to hide that. So that is really the crux of what happened to me, though, is because of the secrets
Mm-hmm.
that caused me to get so sick.
Yeah.
But that said, I did well in the military, and when I got out of the military, I was a little lost for a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then something happened in me that kind of said, nobody's going to do this for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your own. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have support. You know, my mom, she was working trying to survive for herself. She did really well for herself, and I didn't want to put the responsibility on her. I just knew I had to make it if I was going to make it. And, so I moved to Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and I started professionally and personally developing on my own and buying into some technologies of manifestation and,
Mm-hmm.
work hard, play hard. I learned from a lot of cool people. I became a personal trainer, one of the first ones in Cleveland. Ended up deciding I was going to have a health club, and I created that opportunity by thinking it,
Mm-hmm.
and I started believing that you could do this, and it just kind of grew on itself. So um, all along, I could make things happen for myself. I could be successful. I started to really gain confidence in that, but I had this self-sabotage.
Yeah.
I was pretty self-sabotaging. Always have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as you're being very successful opening up health clubs and doing these things for yourself, getting connected with really high people, you still have these secrets and it's still like eating at you
Mhm.
and making it hard to fully immerse yourself in these situations. So that comes to a breaking point at some point. You continue to be successful,
Yeah.
you go and sell steel, and then you hit a breaking point where
Yeah. So I did. I ended up getting into a spot where I wanted to. I had the health club, and I was really addicted to cocaine,
Mhm.
um, and that really wasn't fitting into. I was competing as a bodybuilder, and it was bleeding into the week. I
Yeah.
couldn't do weekends anymore, and I kind of just got out,
Mhm.
right? And I took the opportunity to start working for one of my clients who owned a steel company, and I started selling steel. And I was on that run, man. I was really good at it. I always said, like, we always kept this graveyard. For 9 years I worked for this company, and
Mhm.
and it was usually about 25 of us fighting over the same pile of steel. A lot of ego, a lot of competitiveness, um, and there was 56 people that came and went
Mhm.
during my stay there, and I called it the graveyard. I'd
Yeah.
write their names, and I was making a six-figure income, and I was doing really well. But what had happened was I developed an OxyContin habit.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of that happened for me. I'd always, I never felt good enough. I
Mhm.
always felt like an imposter. No matter hard I worked or what goals I had achieved, it was always an empty feeling at the
Yeah.
end. Um, when your mother told me that she was pregnant with you, I didn't want to do this wrong.
Yeah.
I always said I was going to break the cycle,
Mhm.
and I became the cycle. That's when, right before you were born, as
Mhm.
excited as I was for you to come,
Mhm.
because all I ever really wanted to do was be a dad.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the dad that I didn't have.
Mhm.
Um, wow, this is going to be harder than I thought. Um, that's when my addiction completely took a hold of me.
Mhm.
That pressure of
Mhm.
being a father and having to make a life for us,
Yeah.
that long-term commitment was absolutely overwhelming,
Mhm.
and it really became dark. And I was making six-figure income. We were living like I made 30 because I couldn't be satisfied enough. I was so addicted and so functionally addicted that
Mhm.
I had to keep going and selling steel in order to be able to have an ATM card to be able to
Yeah.
buy what was keeping me going, and I needed more and more. And so, and I was breaking all those rules, man. Like, I was putting you in harm's way.
Mhm.
I would tell, and people believed me, and I believed me that you were the most important thing in my world. But really, I had to be okay. I had to be fixed in
Mhm.
order to be able to do those things. Um, And the guilt and the shame just, they were, they overcame me.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch you sleep at night in your crib and
Yeah.
as a young baby and as a young person and think, I mean, I got to the point where I was completely apathetic. I was completely out of options. I was certain that this was going to end badly.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't want you to have that story. I didn't want you to have to do what happened for me. I didn't want the story to always be people feeling sorry for you
Mm-hmm.
and saying, I knew your dad, and he was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was just troubled,
Yeah.
right? I didn't want you to have what people always said to me. They tried to make me feel better by saying, I knew your dad, and he was a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He really had he had a tough,
Yeah.
tough run, right? You know, because you know the story. My dad, when he left, he was homeless
Mm-hmm.
for 15 years. My dad was schizophrenic. Um, he thought people were after him, and he
Yeah.
convinced me, tried to convince me of that. So when I was looking for him to be a dad, he was telling me that the mafia was going to get him,
Yeah.
and maybe me, right? So those are some scary things.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the mental illness part of this didn't carry on with me,
Yeah.
although OCD and some of these other things
Yeah.
definitely can be considered that. But anxiety and depression, full out,
Yeah.
right? Um, so at some point, when you say what happened, a couple things happened.
Mm-hmm.
The banks collapsed
Yep.
at the end of 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just before that, you and I were driving down the road.
Mm-hmm.
You were always with me. When I didn't have a bar life. I
Yeah.
didn't have a I'm going to disappear for days life. I was pretty structured and
Mm-hmm.
regimented in this. I just had to use something in order to be able to function. Otherwise, you were just trying to get me out of bed.
Yeah.
Um, but we were driving, and I was using on a CD case, driving a Cadillac. You're in the back seat, and I used, and all of a sudden I heard your voice with urgency go, "Dad!" From you're 4.
Yeah.
I looked in the rearview mirror, and you're just kind of looking at me, no words.
Mm-hmm.
I took that as something's wrong. You
Mm-hmm.
watched me do something that you didn't like. You
Yeah.
didn't back it up with anything. So in my head, I was like, you are coming to an age where you're going to see me and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be humiliated.
Yeah.
This is going to get bad, and you're going to watch this the way the way I watched my
Mm-hmm.
dad. And I'm sure he felt shame because he told me he did.
Yeah.
So between that and the banks collapsing, I put myself in Glen Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and I made a decision to try. Because if I didn't, I was going to act on the suicidal ideation that I had with means and a plan. Because I had been reduced to an animal level, spark was gone, no hope,
Mm-hmm.
dark. The only thing that gave me that want to was I had this little redhead. And what would become of her?
Yeah.
Who was going to take care of her? Who was going to look out for her?
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was that I needed to do that for you as a child. What I've realized is I need to do that for you as a young adult.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be here for you, present, available, because you need me now more than you've ever needed me. And
Yeah.
it's come. I never expected that part.
Mm-mm.
So now is why I'm so committed to my recovery and you is because without my recovery, I am people always say, what a burden it is to carry addiction.
Mm-hmm.
It is a burden to carry addiction. It's not really a burden to carry recovery because I'm grateful. I know
Mm-hmm.
what it's like to be a slave. I know what it's like to be humiliated. I know what it's like to live with shame and secrets.
Yeah.
I also now know what it's like to not have secrets,
Mm-hmm.
to be free from
Mm-hmm.
slavery.
Yeah.
I also know what it's like when my daughter looks at me, she trusts what she sees.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
And I'm proud of that.
And I'm proud of that. It's crazy to hear all of that because as the daughter that you did these things for, you got out of it to a point where I don't remember that side of you, and I never have to know that side of you, and all I've seen is you doing the work and getting better for me, to better yourself, to be a better father for me. So it's always been hard for me to hear these things almost because I just can't picture it. As much as I appreciate it now as a young adult, because I am more developed in my brain, can see what you've done for yourself. Like as a young kid watching you do all of that, it was just like, why has he got to go to those meetings? I remember
Yeah.
being like literally hanging on your leg, being like, Dad, why do you have to go to this Thursday night meeting?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I got to go to be a better dad.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember that. Like it was those things that it was so hard for you to do, and like it's not easy, especially when your whole life it's built on secrets and shame and all of this stuff, and just being an open book and presenting this so that I can see as your daughter what a good role model is and stuff. That's huge. And you've now not only me, but our community, the recovery community, everything else that you're involved in, because now you're just doing everything that you possibly can in every different field. It's kind of ridiculous. Like it's crazy to see in the 17 years how that has transformed for you. Because now you've taken what you wanted to do for me and you're helping so many other people along with it. So let's go into that a little bit.
Yeah.
You got clean and then you decided to go into the recovery field.
Yeah. So, right. So I at first went back into steel sales,
Mhm.
right? I started working for a company out of Chicago. I thought if I could just work from home and not in that boiler room kind of pressure cooker, right? And it didn't take long. It took me a year or two to figure out that, if I'm just doing this for money, I was never into steel. It was a means to an end.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to sell commodities. It was a great career and
Yeah.
it was a great company. And these guys, and this everything was a really good opportunity for somebody who didn't need meaning and purpose. I realized I do. I was meant for this. I didn't suffer for no reason. I learned that in recovery. That the suffering that and the path that was laid out there for me um, wasn't for naught, because I've taken that experience and used it as my lived experience to tell my story, and therefore to help others. And that's what I realized. I started working. I went back to the treatment center with about 3.5 years clean to Glen Bay and work second shift, making $12 an hour, go from six-figure income to $12 an hour, second shift, driving an hour each way, and I lost a lot of time with you to do that.
Yeah.
But it was, family looked at me kind of like I kind of lost my mind, because they felt like, you still have responsibilities. I
Yeah.
understand this is important to you. And I'm like, I don't know if I'll make it if I don't. I think I need to do this. And I think the money will have to figure itself out. Let me go see if I can solve some problems, be of value, and be a good return on somebody's investment in the treatment field. And it took 5 years, probably 3 to 5 years. But I had big wins early
Yeah.
to tell me that I was in the right place from the people that really helped me understand that field. And I think treatment is great. Treatment is not recovery. Recovery is not treatment.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's kind of been my calling, is the recovery field has not been fully developed, right? Governor DeWine said it best. He says this field is not broken. It was never fully built,
Yeah.
right? Never fully developed. And recovery is definitely that. So I think everything I've done, I've kind of done outside in other counties, and then finally brought some services home, and then even refined that even further. And then took my entrepreneurial spirit and started realizing I could add those in as social enterprises to nonprofits, and, bingo, here we go. So, what started out as housing, we had transportation problems to solve. We solved those through some business model programs.
Yeah.
And, now we're in the workforce and AI, and only God knows what's next.
I think it's interesting how, you saying that like you had to go do second shift and more time away from me, because even in that time, I remember knowing that's what you needed to do and that was what was best for you. And I remember just being so excited when I got to come up and see it, or like
Yeah.
go and bother you, or when you were working at the recovery housings and I would get to show up with the guys. Like, I think we all knew within what you were doing that there was something real important here, and that this was what you needed to be doing, and that I was just happy to tag along, which I wouldn't have gotten to do if this wasn't the situation. So I think it's cool how our relationship, we've just been kind of buds throughout it all, where I've just always been game and just ready to do whatever with you. And because it's not typical, the recovery life that like I have grown up in, because that's just, people don't live this language, live this lifestyle as open and honest as you have pushed me to be in my life, and as pushback as I have had at times, especially in younger years where I'm stubborn and don't want to listen to those things.
Sounds familiar.
I think that it has done a lot for me as I've gotten older, especially.
I think that's what I'm most proud of is, I didn't get into recovery and start going on some kind of crusade trying to convert people to my new space. I always knew that would be ridiculous. It just felt ridiculous to think that just because I stopped using, that other people would stop using at the same time. It just didn't make sense to me. So my goal was just always be attraction, not promotion. And my goal was always to kind of meet people where they're at and just not leave them there, but be available if they want to move. What I'm most proud of, and I think what's really helped us the most, is I've been able to take those recovery principles of who the hell am I to judge anyone, especially you.
Yeah.
Is just to kind of let you know who I am for real, admit when I really screw up, ask for grace, ask for mercy, make shifts that you need and that I need. But watching you come up, it was like, I know you're going to be a normal person. I wouldn't expect you to be any other way. I mean, think of that, what that pressure was like for you. I'll never forget the time that you had to pull me into one of your counseling sessions to tell on yourself about some stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. What that was like, because you said to me something I never expected to hear. You said, Dad, you're one of the pillars in this community, and I just felt like you would judge me for it. And what did I say? I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, just like as a child of a person in recovery, you, especially someone as in it as you are, because not many people are as in it as you are. Like, you are the sober guy. You're Teddy, who everyone knows, all my friends know that my dad doesn't drink, my dad doesn't do these things. So there was that growing up of like, I am going to live my life and I am going to try things and I'm going to be my own person, but I know how much that meant to you. And so I started to almost create my own secrets and my own resentments because I didn't want to bleed that in with your life, and I didn't want to reflect badly upon you. When I know that's not the case now, but I had to understand those, where you were at, where you're going to take me for where I'm at, and I'm going to be my own person, and you're just going to give me what you know. And if I'm willing to take it, I'm willing to take it. But all you can do is present me my options and give me what I can do here.
And honestly, Zoe, you took a big risk by telling on yourself with me, because you didn't have to decide at that point, but you knew enough to know it was bothering you and it was impacting us, because I always talked about it. If there's a secret between us, it will impact and it will block our relationship. So you decided to be assertive and and you took risk by that, because you didn't know how I was going. You knew how I say I would act, but you didn't know how I was going to act. And I instantly said, I don't care what anybody thinks. Honestly, it does not matter to me. And I was liberated by that, because that was real for me. I could say it. I didn't have to think about it. It was instant. And I've always said, you're going to make some decisions that I think are risky. But who am I to block you from that? Because the truth is I'm going to support you. I'm going to be here with you. All I ask is that you don't keep secrets, because that'll impact our ability to be connected. And you have continued to do that and taken chances and being honest with me. And it's never easy, because you had your own preconceived ideas of what that might sound like. I think, hopefully, what's happened is I've proven that I won't judge you for that I'll support you. I'll accept you for who you are.
Yeah, it's cool to see all of that, and then everything that we've talked about, everything that you've done, everything that you've overcame and stuff, and now where you're at today, especially literally where we're at, like where the RCO's at. You're on the school board. You are on all of these state boards, a bunch of different ones that I can't even begin to name because the names just blend together in my head. But You're so involved now. How does that imposter syndrome and all those things feel now that like you are well established and you are deserving of these things?
Um, there's always going to be a piece of me that says I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Being aware of that
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that that's sabotage and knowing it's bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
um, is I just let people, I don't act as if I am.
Yeah.
I think that's been my secret is I don't try to act as if I do belong
Mm-hmm.
here. But at the same time, I also think it's like I learned in recovery early, and this was the definition that helped me, was the definition of humility. It meant that I'm not above and I'm not proud,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it also means that I'm not below.
Yeah.
I'm same as, right? So I always thought coming up that if I accomplished enough, overcompensated enough,
Mm-hmm.
proved people enough that I would get the respect, and that would fill me up.
Mm-hmm.
And it never worked.
Yeah.
And I got deeper and deeper into addiction. When I finally realized that same as, like, I'm not below anybody and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not above anybody. I lose either way
Mm-hmm.
in those moments. When I can look at myself as a peer to people, that I belong here
Yep.
just as much as you do. And I have a little petty run in me that drives me that says I'm going to prove people wrong
Yeah.
because I do feel judged sometimes from people, but not as much anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I always found that the people who are successful and doing well never criticize or judge. They
Mm-hmm.
always support.
Mm-hmm.
It's those that aren't doing as well, that are struggling themselves still.
Mm-hmm.
And I struggle on days. Um, but, as far as, how do I feel about, how far we've come, I think, I said this to you with what you're doing. You got some pretty lofty goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just happy to be here and present and ready
Yeah.
to be with you no
Mm-hmm.
matter what comes,
Yeah.
right? No matter what comes,
Mm-hmm.
good, bad, or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, how those people that climb Mount Everest,
Mm-hmm.
they plan for a year, they organize themselves, they put this massive effort just to get to base camp,
Yeah.
right? And then they set at base camp. They still got a mountain to climb.
Mm-hmm.
But what the work they've already put in has been a lot. I feel like we're at base camp, both
Mm-hmm.
you and I.
Yeah.
And us at Hopetown.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've put in a lot of work to position ourselves in a space to where we can do something magical.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we're going to do something significant. And I have to continue to improve myself, to invest in myself, to invest in those around me, and to ask for their confidence and
Mm-hmm.
support to lead. And as your father, I've had to ask for your confidence and
Mm-hmm.
support to lead.
Yeah.
But by doing that, I have to also make sure that I check in with you
Mm-hmm.
and I support you no
Mm-hmm.
matter which direction you're going. And a lot of times you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out." I'm like, "Cool, let's talk." You know?
Yeah. And it is one of the things I am most grateful for is our relationship and the stability that I have as you and a parent. Because not a lot of people have that. You didn't have that. You had your mother, and Graham did a great job. But
She did.
it has been so refreshing to have a dad that I know will support me alongside bullshit with me while I'm going through it. We can have fun while we're also really dealing with some hard, real stuff sometimes, no matter what it be. I know you're game to be there with
Yeah.
me. And that wouldn't have been the case if things went differently 17 years ago.
Yeah. Well, your whole life would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be watching different role models for
Yeah.
sure. Um, and I didn't really have a model, and that's probably why I freaked out so much when it was real easy to talk a good game when you're a kid
Mm-hmm.
or you're a young person coming up and say, I'm going to break the cycle. I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to be like his dad. I'm going to break the cycle. The moment that I knew you were coming, I was crumbling.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the end of a long road. I was already damaged, man. I can remember. I know the moment
Mm-hmm.
when I was a child that I broke inside.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I never felt okay again. I never felt safe. I never felt like I was good enough.
Mhm.
And the shame was overwhelming. And
Mhm.
I put on a big smile and
Mhm.
had a lot of energy, and I covered it up
Mhm.
for as long as I could. And I ran with that for, it was 25 years.
Yeah.
And then I hear you're coming, and now it's time. And I was beat to shit.
Mhm.
Um, it took a lot of insight
Mhm.
and a lot of support and help from others. And the way they helped us, I mean, I got my mom and Beetle tattooed on my chest.
Yeah.
And, Jim Beetle was the guy that I picked to help me
Mhm.
when I first got out of treatment, and he became my sponsor. Um, and he taught me how to be a human. He taught me how to cope. He taught
Mhm.
me how to think.
Mhm.
He challenged me on my arrogant bullshit
Yep.
that I used when I started telling him I knew stuff. Um, and he always matched whatever energy I was willing to put into this
Mhm.
recovery. And I thought, you know, it is a little imbalanced when you're being raised by somebody like me, who's all in to
Mhm.
whatever he's into,
Yeah.
right? And for you, you got to experience me being all into my recovery, and
Mhm.
I value it more than I value anything else because I am not confused. I know without it, then I'll be this self-centered, self-seeking, obsessive compulsive,
Mhm.
self-sabotaging monster.
Yeah.
It'll be uglier the
Mhm.
next time,
Yeah.
um, because my whole identity's wrapped up in it. I don't know what I'd be without it. That said, I didn't expect it to open up so
Mhm.
dramatically. Like my whole life is opened up.
Mhm.
Now, yes, recovery is my base, but it is not who I am.
Yeah.
I am more than that. I was
Mhm.
designed, basically, I'm getting to do what I was, all the skill sets, all the work, everything
Mhm.
else that I was doing weren't for naught while I was
Yeah.
also progressively becoming a slave to addiction.
Mhm.
Now I get to have a structure, make decisions, advance confidently in the direction of my dreams,
Mhm.
help people, have meaning and purpose, and provide and sponsor for you
Mhm.
in the direction of your dreams. And for us to not only be able to get into fitness together, because you decided you were going to run track and you also wanted to get a butt, so you
Why
thought
not?
that maybe I'd help you with some old bodybuilding stuff. So 25 years out of retirement, I show back up in a
Mhm.
gym, and here we go.
Now we're obsessed.
And 3.5 years or whatever it's been later, here we go.
Yeah.
Like we're just more and more into it. And that in itself, if that's all we got out of this,
Mhm.
that would have been more than most,
Yeah.
right? With the magic that's
Yeah.
happened since that's occurred, right? But in addition to that,
Mhm.
for you to be able to start your own company,
Mhm.
administrative support for media and
Mhm.
AI, right? Chase your bodybuilding dreams,
Mhm.
your personal training dreams,
Mhm.
because you're going to be a personal trainer around the same time your dad was, and he was one of
Mhm.
the first ones in Cleveland
Yep.
to become a personal trainer back in '92. Um, but for us to be on this th- at this point in human evolution,
Yeah.
for us to be on this AI
Mhm.
kick and be leading it,
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to go, Zoe. I don't know what this is going to happen
Mhm.
for us next. But what I can tell you is we're going to be able to do things that no other humans have been able to ever
Mhm.
do, or we're going to have to shift our thinking and train our minds into being able to partner with this. And some people are like, man, that is so out there.
Mhm.
And some people are like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, I wonder how
Mhm.
that happens. But because of the way my mind thinks, I feel like I'm partnered right up with this opportunity, and I
Mhm.
believe that I can lead this
Yeah.
organization. But for you to be able to be part of this at this age and at this point in your career, um, again, it's a huge bonus. Didn't expect it. My life has given me back so much.
Mhm.
Beetle used to always say, man, if you put all you have into this right now,
Mhm.
what will happen from what you expect will happen will be 100 times better.
Yeah.
And, Beetle since passed. He passed with 30 years clean.
Hmm.
And again, I say clean because I'm an NA guy and that's
Yeah.
how I came up. I usually try to speak this in recovery, but because I'm having this
Yeah.
conversation with you, this has always been our
Yeah.
language. I don't have a negative connotation to recovery by calling it clean or sober,
Yeah.
but I know that language has moved
Hmm.
and I try to move with it. I normally in mixed groups will speak appropriately, but for me, this is a personal thing
Yeah.
and I'm proud of it.
Hmm.
It's what got me here. And I think, I don't know where we're going. I don't know what's happening next. Um, but I just see how lucky we are to have had what we've had so far.
Yes, we are. All right, I'm pulling up the Crucible 5.
Uh-oh.
A quote or phrase that keeps you grounded.
Um, so, prove them wrong. I mean, I got it tattooed on me. I've mentioned it already
Hmm.
before. Um, Grounded in a sense of doubling down, staying focused, because life can knock me off my block every day, all day. Things are always happening to throw me off of that. But honestly, the one that drives me the most is great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. We all do all three,
Hmm.
but I'm at my best when I'm talking about ideas.
Yeah.
And you guys mostly hear me talking about
Hmm.
ideas. And that's where we're at our best.
Next one. A song, book, or film that inspires you.
So there was two there was two artists um, that when I came into recovery, one is Eminem, which you know,
Recovery album.
which you know quite well because Recovery and Relapse were two albums that came out. Eminem got clean right before I did apparently, and I
Yeah.
didn't know that until I got into it. And
Hmm.
then he came out with these two albums, and I had a Dodge Charger, and you were in my car, and you were raised on Eminem,
Oh yeah, and
essentially.
I thought we were so cool driving around in that Charger,
Yeah,
blasting
it
Eminem.
was, yeah. And so I always knew I wasn't such a great dad, but you were raised on Eminem. And then Nikki Sixx, Heroin Diaries.
Hmm.
That soundtrack is
Yeah.
something that I still listen to, and I think those are had a major impact on me. Obsession is real, OCD, and I was very obsessive about those tracks
Hmm.
for my first couple
Yeah.
years. I was careful not to listen to much else.
A person who has influenced you.
Well, we mentioned him,
Jim
Jim Beadle.
Beadle.
Jim Beadle, he became, when I got out of treatment, they said, go to meetings, get a sponsor, pick a home group,
Hmm.
um, and pray. And I was just blessed to run into Jim Beadle. And I'll just never forget, you were four. The second time I met him was within my first week. He was sharing his story. He had an 18-year-old daughter,
Hmm.
Sabrina. She was 18 at the time. She was redhead. She
Hmm.
sat across from him. He shared a graphic story,
Hmm.
raw and honest. I couldn't believe the way that he would be so honest in front of her. All I could think of was, I hope that my daughter looks at me one day like that. And here you are,
Hmm.
21 years old, looking at me like that. And
Yeah.
that's a gift, and it's a gift from him.
Hmm.
He gave me all of him, including his family.
He did.
They accepted us,
Hmm.
and he's now passed, but he's living with me every day.
Yep.
Everything I do, the intensity that comes out of me
Hmm.
is Jim Beadle.
It's Beadle.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'd be remiss to not mention my mom,
Little Linnea.
little general.
Little general.
She gave me my work ethic.
Oh yeah.
Um, she gave me the logic of, not being able to rationalize dumb shit.
Hmm.
Um, and she has accepted me. She has never understood me,
No.
which is why the fact that she's accepted me at every stage of
Hmm.
my life is even more
Yeah.
incredible
It's
because she
huge.
does not get me.
No. But she loves you and accepts
She
you
sure
just the
does.
way that you are.
That's right.
A daily habit or practice that helps you stay centered.
Um, Third step prayer,
Hmm.
right? When people say, how have you done it? How have you stayed in recovery all this time, no matter what? And I always say, it's the only thing I've done perfectly is pray.
Hmm.
And when I say perfectly, I literally just mean that I speak to God every day
Mhm.
and sometimes all day. I do it kind of ritually. Like I learned, that's not a word, but I learned that the third step prayer is a longer prayer, and I shortened it, and I say it with earnest and meaning and emphasis because I really want it to work, because I want to be sincere about it. But really, it's all comes down to self will
Mhm.
and God's will.
Mhm.
And for me, it's take my will, show me yours, and give me strength.
Mhm.
I say it all day long
Mhm.
because I am a willful little mofo, right?
Yeah.
I am strong willed, and that can be a positive or a
Mhm.
negative, but it has never been the solution for me. It's always been giving up my will.
Mhm.
So I say, take my will,
Mhm.
show me yours, meaning show me your will, God, show me
Mhm.
God's will or God's plan, and give me strength. And when I'm really, really struggling, which is a lot oftentimes, certain things tear me up throughout the day. And when that happens, I say, take my will, show me yours, and give me the strength, courage, power, and wisdom to carry it out.
Mhm.
And I generally say that to myself. I don't say it formally or traditionally in prayer. I speak to God. I have a personal relationship with God, and that has made all the difference for
Mhm.
me, period.
Yeah, that's how I've been raised also by you to the third step prayer,
I'm
which
so
is
proud of that.
it's so
The toughest times,
Mhm.
the toughest times for you when you said, I pray,
Mhm.
or I have said the third step prayer. I'm so proud because honestly, if I could give you one thing,
Mhm.
if I'm not here tomorrow,
Mhm.
that prayer will get you through
Yeah.
if you choose it.
Mhm.
And you have to choose it just like I still have to choose it
Yeah.
every day.
Mhm.
And I only do it when I'm uncomfortable or when I'm grateful. I don't usually like fall,
Yeah.
but like almost slipped carrying wood the other day, and I'm like, thank you, God.
Mhm.
I fell out of a chair over there when I was in because I didn't know the
Oh
hook was
my
down
gosh,
below,
yeah.
right? I
Mhm.
landed like a cat,
Yes, you did.
but quickly, I'm always giving credit to God
Yep.
all day long
Yep.
for the good stuff, and then I ask Him for help in the bad stuff,
Mhm.
and I don't resent whatever happens to the best of my ability.
One word to describe you today. What would you think that is?
Resilient,
Yeah. Cockroach.
cockroach.
Yep.
Yeah, I could just make it a cockroach, right? So I think of the resiliency of a cockroach, and some people are like, dude, that is like one, it's kind of disgusting. Okay, but for me, I think of what's the most resilient
Mhm.
animal on the planet,
Yeah.
and I've heard that it's a cockroach.
Mhm.
I've taken a lot of chemicals.
Yeah.
I've taken a lot of risks.
Mhm.
I've been subjected to a lot of danger.
Mhm.
I've subjected myself to a lot of danger, and man, I'm still here. I'm still intact,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for it. I was at the gym this morning, hit back, and
Mhm.
everything works.
Yep.
I'm lucky.
Yeah. Word.
Word.
Well, thanks for letting me have this conversation with you, Dad. I think it was pretty cool.
I love it.
I love it.
How cool.
Word.